I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Johnny Smith.
And this is Smith and Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things.
I was thinking the other day, have you ever seen Shaft?
Ooh, well, that's a good question.
I mean,
yes.
The
film. Yeah, I think I have, but it's one of those ones where have I, or do I think I have, because it's so sort of indelibly imprinted into popular culture, or certainly was when we were younger.
Yeah.
Because of the song and because it's just a strong image, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, if you ask me what's the plot of Shaft, I'm going to say I don't know. He goes around solving crimes.
He's a private investigator or private detective, and he's been employed by a Harlem mobster to get back the daughter, the daughter of the Harlem mobster, who's been kidnapped by a Italian mafioso mobster.
Oh,
all off of New York City. So, but I say this like I've watched it, but I realised the other day, because the theme tune came on, which is obviously amazing.
yes.
And I've never seen it, and I didn't realise it was a film, and then it became a series. So it was only one series. They were going to recommission it, but they never did. So it was about, I don't know, 7, 8 episodes. And he only ever drives a car in it once, in one episode. He walks everywhere.
Well, it's New York, isn't it? Yeah.
Because he's New York, and he's got that amazing kind of diarial leather jacket on with like a lemon roll neck, and I have to say, looks really cool. Because honestly, if I could get away with it, I bloody would. If I could get away with that,
I think you could.
But the jacket was a little bit, in my eyes anyway, a little bit diarial in colour. So, like an ill poo. Like an ill poo coloured leather jacket.
Ill on holiday.
Yes, exactly that. It's exactly
Unfamiliar
that.
food. It's very hot. Oh.
I forgot to say to you, and this has just reminded me, you know my saga with the caterer the other week? I forgot there was one more aspect to the saga. When I got to the Airbnb, which I was sharing with the videographer in Wales, it was like a sort of new build house that was just empty pretty much. And all I wanted to do was just have a shower and go to bed, because I'd spilt petrol all up my arms and things. Been doing that a lot lately. I'll come on to that in a minute. And I realised, Phil, the videographer, went, got a bit of a problem with the towels. I said, okay, what? He said, they've forgotten to give us towels. Oh. And it was like 10 at night, so we couldn't really get any. So I foraged around the house, and I had to have a full shower and dry myself with a tea towel. I had to dry myself with a tea towel. And
just
the next
one?
morning... Yeah, just one. And the next morning, all I could find was quite a large flannel, I suppose, toweling flannel. And again, I dried myself with a large flannel, and it's really quite difficult to do that. It's quite demoralising as well. It feels a bit prison spec.
Oh dear, that's misery.
Yeah.
Because conversely, there's nothing greater than an enormous towel, an enormous fresh towel, like in a posh hotel or something.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And there's another 5 towels around the room that you could draw on if you so needed. It's just like, no one ever complains about having too many towels.
No. You know when, but you know, I don't know if I've told you this on a Smith and Sniff before. It might have been an old video, but went to my friend's house years ago when we were boys at school and having a sleepover around his, and they had a very old house. I got a towel out of the airing cupboard and went into the bathroom for a shower. And as I got out of the shower, I just sort of whipped open the towel and went straight into the back scrub, the back, the sawing away action, as I said. And unfortunately, there was a Hornet that had been sort of hibernating in the... So I rubbed my back with a Hornet. And guess what? I got stung.
Yes.
And it wasn't the greatest shower experience I've ever had. Those two are probably in the top 5 of not great shower experiences.
Well, it's a great episode of Would You Rather. Would you rather have to dry yourself with a tea towel or dry yourself with a full-size towel that's got a Hornet in it? Because I don't know, it's a tricky one. That I don't instinctively know which way I'd go.
No.
Because you might take your chances with the Hornet. I mean, what if the Hornet turned out to be on the outside of the towel and it would just fall off? But then you might tread on it. I mean,
it was also winter, so the Hornet was extremely docile because it had been it had been winterizing. I don't know what you call it. Do they hibernate?
Hibernating?
I don't know. Do Hornets survive a whole winter? I don't know. Or do
Well, they
just
must
lay
do in
eggs
some
and
way
die?
or other, otherwise there'd be no more Hornets. But what do they do?
Well, they might lay eggs and die.
You know, it's like we've got a pond that we in our house.
I like your pond.
It was already there, but it has newts in it, which I find delightful, and I love it. Sort of late spring, you start to see the newts in the pond. But I'm curious, where do the newts go? What are the newts doing over the winter? I keep meaning to look this up. I'm sure a listener will know.
Benidorm.
But because I'm far too idle. Yes, they just...
They go to Benidorm.
Nobody knows that. Newts are migratory. It's incredible the distances they can cover on foot. Yeah. But,
it's like showmen. That's what showmen do, that. British showmen.
What?
They live in they go to Spain or Portugal in winter because there's no need to set all the rides up, so they send the rides off to be checked and painted and any renovations and stuff. A bit like what schools having maintenance done during the summer holidays, and then they go off to Spain or Mallorca. Or in fact, you might have on your recent holiday to Mallorca. Did you chill out with a load of showmen?
It's summer, so no.
Of course, because it's peak time. Of course,
time. They'd have been setting up,
coining it.
I just want to go back to the shaft because I think, well, first of all, it is one of those things where you sort of go, what goes on in Shaft? You go, he's a guy who goes around sorting shit out, but you realise you don't actually know what happens. It's almost like what happens in the rest of Psycho. Yes, she gets stabbed in the shower, but what's the rest of that film like?
Oh, spoiler alert, Richard. Come on.
Almost yes. Those people who've been hanging on 60-odd years going, I won't watch it yet. I'll wait till I've got a bit of quiet time and I'll watch Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho because I've heard it's good. Well, let me tell you, if you watch it in the modern day, it's very slow for the most part.
Yes. It's a bit like Bullet. Apart from the car chase, the film is very slow.
Yeah.
Very slow.
It's just
Shaft. I looked up the movie poster of Shaft.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, the tagline is Shaft's his name, Shaft's his game. And it got me thinking. Hang on. And it got me thinking, hang on. So this guy's called John Shaft. That's like me being called Jonathan Shaft, okay? Let's just put it out there.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you're going to go down the diarrheal jacket and lemon roll neck route, why not consider the whole hog?
What, just rename it?
I mean, obviously, it does cause some concerns. I don't want to have to rename this podcast Shaft and Sniff. I think it might draw a whole different audience, and I'll be very disappointed. But
I think the relaunch would go down terribly.
The theme tune for Shaft, it always made me laugh because, the backing vocalists go Shaft a lot, and then
an awful
towards the end they just go John Shaft. It's like
that's right.
In case you were thinking, I thought you meant Steve Shaft who works in the post office.
I was thinking mine.
Mine Shaft. Sorry, I thought you meant a shaft of light, but it's glad that you qualified that it's John Shaft. Good, we're on the same page now. Thank you for that, backing vocalists.
I like the backing vocalist in it,
but it is just I love the late clarification.
It is very late.
Shaft brackets John.
You bad mother, shut your mouth. Hey, I was
yes, that's good. That is a really good bit.
Really nice little backing singer retort. But so Shaft's his name, Shaft's his game, and then I thought, okay, well, been watching over the last year or so the John Wick films with Keanu Reeves because I do like them, and I think with my delusional hat on, I like the fact that the actor who used to be Lovejoy, who I've actually just forgotten the name of, who's in it.
Shane.
Yes, so he's in it, isn't he? and he's my favourite character in it, actually. And he plays the sort of owner of the Assassin's Hotel, and he always refers to him as Jonathan. So John Shaft's actually John Wick is actually Jonathan Wick. So I'm thinking, and he says, "Oh, Jonathan, what have you done?"
Now, Jonathan Wick sounds more like someone who restores furniture.
Well, yeah, or Joe Wick's his brother.
Oh, yeah. He's constantly doing exercise in his living room.
Yeah, and then in the background, Jonathan Wick goes by and he's like reloading a rifle or something, or putting another one of those.
Wick boys. They've all got their own things going on. Well, hang on a minute. Is this some subtle suggestion? Now, I'm going to have to admit, I've never seen a John Wick film. I just haven't.
Oh, John Wick 1 and 2 is very, very good.
Where are we up to in the Wick series?
4's just come out in the last 3 months, I think, 4 months.
Yeah. I think I saw that on the side of a bus.
Yeah.
So is this some subtle implication that Ian McShane is Keanu Reeves' dad?
No, because not in the show, not in the film.
And I don't mean in real life, but I mean in the show. Is the character played by Ian McShane is John Wick's dad, which is why he calls him Jonathan. Same way that your parents call you Jonathan, but few other people do. That's
true. Oh yeah, maybe that's exactly it. He does. He's quite a father figure actually in it. When come to think of it.
Now, speaking of father figure, in a very tenuous segue, have you seen that Wham documentary on Netflix yet?
Oh no, I haven't.
Disappointing lack of cars. Just to try and desperately keep it on topic.
Okay.
But you will enjoy the clothes. And actually, the thing that really struck me is how absolutely magnificently leonine George Michael's hair became in the middle 80s.
Oh, it was amazing.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It was like a lion.
You see a really big male lion, and you just look at it, you go, that is... The mane is magnificent. Well, George Michael in the 80s, same thing.
Hair mane.
I'd
love a hair mane.
Like a lion mixed with Princess Diana from the same era. Just incredible.
Yes.
But no cars. I was kind of hoping, because particularly Andrew Ridgeley, a bit of a car guy, used to race cars, didn't he?
Did he race Fiestas or something? Was it a Fiesta?
Oh, yeah, maybe. I thought he was in that. Do you remember in the 80s there was that Renault 5 Turbo Cup? One make thing. And I think he was in that. Shall we look this up?
Yeah, because I know he did I thought it was that Ford Fiesta one make series, but maybe
he might have done that
Renault
as well.
5. Yeah, I don't know if he was a bit crashy, but then that's okay. I
believe that he was. Oh, hello. There's a whole article. The messy racing career of an ex-Wham superstar. Wow, there's a whole article here. It says, though, here we go. Ridgeley caught the racing bug with some Renault 5 UK races in 1985.
Of course he did.
And then they split. He went to full-on F3 driver.
So hang on, when George... So he retired from Wham and instantly started racing Renault 5 GT turbos.
There's a fantastic picture here. I'll put this on the Patreon. There's a picture of Andrew Ridgeley upside down in a Renault 5 turbo. He's just parked it on the grass against a tyre wall, but the car is upside down.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he was amazing.
I need to feel like I need to see this.
But anyway, but there's no mention of it. They concentrate. But it's a fabulous documentary. The archive is incredible, and it's been really well treated.
Well, you know it. Long-time listeners / watchers of Smith and Sniff will know that we both appreciate a bit of George Michael.
Yes.
And Wham back catalogue. So we'll do that. So, Jonathan Wick and John Shaft. So there's a lot of Wicks and Shafts going on, aren't there, if you think about it?
It's positively disgusting.
What are we going to get next? What are we going to get next? I mean, I dare to think. The next John will be...
John Flute.
Yeah, exactly. John Wand. Hard-hitting crime boss.
John Wand. But just for a change in exercise, is he one of those people who spells John Jonn for no apparent reason?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Can I change the subject?
Yeah, please. You ought to.
Well, just because last week I meant to mention, and we sort of forgot, the news that Volvo is to stop selling saloons and estates in the UK.
Yeah.
And will become only a vendor of SUVs.
I'm really pissed off about it.
Well, yeah, I got the impression you were, because I saw you having a bit of a rant on social media. But one thing, I wanted to offer you some small crumb of comfort. And I've checked this with Volvo, so it is definitely true. You can still get a Volvo saloon or estate, Johnny, but you will have to become a police person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's an official statement about this. Volvo Cars UK will continue to supply saloon and estate authority specification models to our emergency services customers. This includes V60 and V90 together with their cross-country variants and S90.
Right, so there's two things here to take home. One, the police are cool, and this absolutely proves that, because they dig on the big saloon or the estate. Two, if in the future you want a Volvo estate, you're going to have to buy an ex-cop car.
Yes.
And that's going to be cool.
Now, I asked this of Volvo because I wanted to find out, when those police cars come to the end of their working lives, will they be sent through the auctions as they normally would, or
auction?
Are they going to be exiled from the UK and sent to, I don't know, like Malta or somewhere that's right-hand drive, because Volvo don't want them kicking around? Now, I asked this of Volvo. They said it will vary from force to force, but the guy that I was talking to there is going to double-check, and unfortunately didn't have an answer in time for this recording, so we'll maybe catch up on this next week. Because I also wondered, if you buy 4 years down the line, you buy a really nice V90, leggy but well kept, with some holes drilled in the dashboard. I don't think they do that anymore. They're a bit better about it now.
They're better about it now. There's more cubby holes in modern cars too.
Yeah. Well, also, I think because so apparently all the police stuff comes. There's a specific department, Volvo Car UK Special Vehicles Department, does all this work for the police, because amongst other things, they say, and this again is part of their official statement, authority specification vehicles have high performance engines alongside lower interior specification, uprated payload capacity and upgraded brakes. These vehicles are not subject to the 112 mile an hour speed limiter found in all our other cars. So there's always those great legends about, police cars are always highly tuned, which is bullshit. They never are, for lots of reasons, not least warranty and stuff. But they do have, within the sort of box of bits available to a car company, they will make them suitable for the job. And when they say high performance engines, they just mean the most powerful engine that you can get in that car. They're not like running some kind of tricksy map or hot cams or anything. But
I have to say, this really boosted my morale.
Good. I'm glad I thought it might. But I'm just curious though. But if you buy your leggy V90 in 4 years' time, the dealer will still be able to support you if you need it, and that these cars aren't sort of dead to Volvo, because they are still making and selling them elsewhere. So we'll come back to this next week when hopefully Volvo's Special Vehicles Department will be able to confirm exactly what goes on. But as far as I can work out, and until we hear to the contrary, these cars will be released into the wild once the police have finished with them. So you'll be sort of seeing like a 24-plate S90 driving around at some point. And if you're a keen car nerd, you may for a moment go, what? They stopped selling those the year before. And then
I wonder if the residuals on them will be spookily good. I'm going to say yes, although it will be difficult to accurately gauge that, what with them being ex-police. But
yeah. And also because residuals are all over the shop at the moment, aren't they? It's just,
they are.
Although I'll tell you something.
A really nice Honda E for 18 grand that's done about 12 miles. Cannot believe it. It's amazing. Is that right? Yeah, honestly, if you're looking for an urban EV, look no further, because they're not a cheap car new. It's 37, 38.
No.
And they aren't selling very well, which is a real shame, because they're a beautiful design and they're a great car for many reasons. But yes, on the second-hand market, Honda E's are a bargain. I think they're really brilliant.
Interesting. What is the range on those? I can't remember.
125 WLTP. That's combined. City a little more, but real world 110, 115. So it's low. It's low.
Yeah, because that's worse than RE up.
Yeah, it is.
And in the winter, that's going to be. I mean, that's just that is getting into the realms of the inconvenience, isn't it? The amount you have to charge it.
I think it is. It is, which is why I really wish they'd do the two battery versions like the Fiat 500e, the City and the Long. Talking of which,
I don't know. I mean, there must be someone listening who's got a Honda E and is very happy with it. If that's you, write in, send us an email, hello@sniff.com. Do entitle your email, "Oh, do shut up."
Yes, I mean, I hope so, because I do think it's a fantastic car and it's a genuinely unique, special experience inside it.
Oh, hey, talking of depreciation, did you see Harry Metcalf last week on Twitter put up a Maserati MC20 for sale at Joe Macari, the high-end car dealer. Mm-hmm. It's a 2021 car. It's got just over 1,000 miles on it, and it's lost 100 grand.
It's a 21 plate.
Yeah.
And it's done how many miles? 1,000. So it's sort of delivery mileage-ish, just a long delivery.
Damn it. I mean, it's barely been used. I bet it smells box fresh.
100 grand off. That's properly competing with McLaren's in terms of like depth charge depreciation. Goodness me. That car's amazing too. I love it.
Is it? I've not driven it. But yes, I've heard good things. I like the look of it.
I love the look of it.
I like the sound of it. I like the idea of it. The Maserati. But conversely, since we're in depreciation corner, you've seen that new Toyota Land Cruiser?
Yes, which looks spooky. I think I do like, because I think the only thing that has ever really put me off latter models of Land Cruiser is the fact that they just don't have any style to them. It's all about their usefulness, and the interiors they've never been able to compete with Range Rover, have they really? You get into a Land Cruiser, it doesn't feel special, it just feels purposeful. You get into a Range Rover, it does feel pretty special up there.
Yeah.
So
it's true. That's the thing.
I'm hopeful. I feel like Toyota have been funnel web spiders, and they've been waiting for Range Rover to just get so luxurious and so silly and so full of themselves, and they go, right, now's the time. We're going to come out with
emerge from someone's lawn and sting a child.
We're going to crawl out of our funnel web now, and we are going to show you what we're capable of. We've got an interesting, slightly retro-ish, handsome design, and we're probably going to have a more interesting interior. Boom. By the way, we're still really reliable. Bang. Take that.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? So I like that, mate.
I like Land Cruiser, mate. Land Cruiser.
I liked it. I like the look of it. I do think in some photos it looks like the wheels are too thin and small, and yet I don't think they are. So it looks like a toy.
You're right. I thought the same, and then I looked at a little video, like a 360 video of it.
Yeah,
and then it looked normal. But it's funny how some cars are like this, aren't they? I find there's a few cars which aren't photogenic.
I suspect those early, very polished-looking images are actually just renders, aren't they? They usually are these days. So I don't know. Maybe they're just the renders a bit off. But yeah, I know. I do like it. I don't want to like it because I kind of think that retro is often a bit lazy, and it's like, could you not think of something else that could be equally handsome but just a bit less sort of looking over its shoulder? But the truth is, it looks great, I think, in most respects. And also, I saw a walk-around video from an American outlet on YouTube. And they were looking at the base model, and it's got sort of tweedy cloth seats.
Oh.
And it just, I don't know why, but for some reason, that kind of car, you go, I don't want leather, because the leather's probably very shiny, and it just looked really cool. In fact, the tweedy cloth seats were not dissimilar to the ones in my Defender. And I just liked it. And it's not base spec as well, because certainly in the US, according to this video, it's got everything you need. It's got heated seats. I think it's got a heated steering wheel, and so it's plenty luxurious. But then it's also, it will probably just go on forever. And on that note, and talking about depreciation, after I saw that new Land Cruiser a couple of weeks ago, out of idle curiosity, I was like, what do old Land Cruisers go for? Because they're always
massive
sought after. Yeah, people think they last forever, which they probably do with a bit of care. On Auto Trader, there are Land Cruiser Amazons that are like 15, 18 years old, going for like near as damn it 30 grand.
Yeah.
And they've all got like, sort of 100,000 miles on the minimum. And you just go, that is insane.
I know it is. And they've all probably got rot around the back of the chassis where it goes over the axle. Because that's always where the mud gets flailed up there and nobody ever jet washes it down. And nobody ever rust proofs their car when they first buy it because they're twats. And it only costs about 150 quid and it will save.
Well, also in this day and age, I think people reasonably assume that the car maker will have done that for them. I mean, I had my Land Rover rust proof when I bought it because obviously you can't expect Land Rover to do something as practical as that. They're busy. No. But most people, you think that, cars come rust proof these days. It's one of the things that's come on in leaps and bounds in the last 30 years.
And they don't. Years. I was speaking to a mechanic yesterday, actually, like a regular small town mechanic who was really, really insightful. And I was asking him all about the Achilles heels of certain new cars. And he went, oh my gosh, he said, you want to see the rot on Qashqais? He said,
really?
He said, I'm based in Nuneaton and they all look like they've been under the sea. And I said, seriously? Yeah. And it was like,
wow.
I was surprised. He went, yeah, he's like, there's no protection at all. And of course, people never crawl under their car anymore. Yeah. And nobody ever properly pressure washes underneath in winter, which is when the only place you want to pressure wash, really. So yeah, he was great. And what does he drive?
Early Qashqais?
No, like early to mid, because I mean they've been in production a long, long time, haven't they?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. But
what did he drive though, Rich? I want you to know what he.
Well, it sounds like he's got a keen eye for rot, so he's going to dodge. So maybe something Golf, but what would that be?
I don't know if it was Golf, but of course, being a mechanic doesn't want to pay a lot for a car. And wants to know that the car can be used hard and not need a lot of TLC because that's a busman's holiday. He had this amazingly leggy Honda Jazz.
Oh, damn it. I was about to say Accord for some reason.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, just because I thought it doesn't need a lot of TLC. Yes.
He was
Honda Jazz.
Yeah,
wow.
he turned up in this Jazz and it was, I'm going to say red in inverted commas. It was so faded, honestly. It looked like it had just been put in near the equator on one side for about 3 years and then brought back over here.
It's just been left on a windowsill for about 6 years.
Yeah, honestly, it's like a bad ornament.
South-facing windowsill.
Yeah, it was so faded. And then what I loved was he said, oh, yeah, because he had some tools in the back. He said, do you know the other thing I love about these? The magic seats. And I went, oh yeah, yes. It's got the magic seat system. And the back, he had the seats flipped up. I don't know if listeners know about the Jazz Magic seats. And the new HRV has got the same system. It's really handy where the bottom squab can fold up on a spring. And you've got like extra amazing storage. He uses it for his tools and stuff without them clanging around on the way to the unit. Yeah, and my favourite part of his Jazz, apart from the fact that it was 200 quid.
Ooh.
It was 200 quid because a customer came in and they just had their entire exhaust system robbed because of the catalytic converter, unfortunately. And he priced it up, including fitting, and they were like, I'll just get a newer one. It's a bit old now. So he said, okay, I'll give you some money for it. And he went and found a second-hand system, actually, not a stolen one. And on the back panel next to where it says Jazz, where the badge is, he's put a hologram sticker which says hardcore. I love that. I love the fact that in isolation, obviously, that's a type of dance music. But when it's next to Jazz, all of a sudden...
I thought maybe it was going to be like a sticker that said acid.
Oh, well, acid would be good, wouldn't it? Rather than mags.
Either way, there's lots of fun you could have with Jazz.
Yes. But, so the hardcore faded red Jazz was amazing.
Do they not go a bit rotty, though, early Jazzes?
No, he says they don't. He says they're quite resilient. He says they leak. There's a certain place they leak on the roof rails because the sealant goes off and water drips down the A, B, C, D, probably the D pillar, and then into the boot floor. And he says then your spare wheel well fills with water and just sloshes, and people very rarely notice, and then it starts rotting from the inside out. But he said all you got to do is take off the roof rails, clean off all the sealant, tiger seal, screw it all back down. He said it's done for another 10 years. So there's 4 in his family now, 4 Jazzes.
They are a cockroach car, aren't they?
They're absolute.
Proves it.
Well, and I said to him, I said, okay, so Jazz, brilliant car you'd recommend to anyone, especially on a budget. He went, yeah. I said, what about another car you'd recommend? Low budget, really, really difficult to kill. He went, well, of course, K11 Micro. And I went, yeah, of course. And
okay. Did you high five him immediately?
I did. I wanted to bring him in for a hug. But as Americans would say, bring it in, buddy, bring it in.
But what about the rot? I mean, they are famously they go a bit muddy after time, don't they?
They do. Yeah, they do. Well, yeah. Again, it depends on who's looked after it. If it's ecstasy spec, it will have been garaged, and it will have probably been pressure washed. And they are the ultimate kind of Just Eat / Curry House delivery vehicle of choice.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually got followed into town by the Curry House delivery K11 last week. And I couldn't help chuckling because I caught it in the rear view mirror as we were coming up to lights, because I could hear a sort of squeaking belt, like a I was thinking, okay. And then it was dark, you see, or nearly dark, and I caught in the street light and the full horror of what I was seeing was the front end was completely caved in, but in like a chevron, like they'd hit a telegraph pole, I suppose, right in the middle of the front of the car. And the headlights were pointing slightly inwards, a bit like the Morgan Aero 8. Slightly.
Was that the inspiration for the Morgan Aero 8? Was some old hatchback that had hit a pole? But at about, what would that be? Not more than 10 miles an hour, surely. Probably less. Just enough to
tweak.
V.
It just tweaks the cross brace, and it all went inward. So it was, the belt was chirping a little bit. The headlights were ever so slightly boss-eyed, but it was still all there. I bet you the bonnet is now unable to be lifted, so it's just a matter of time before oil and water start to need topping up, and that's the point at which they'll run it until she's dry.
You're sort of presupposing that they check the oil and water anyway, so it's probably not got any in it.
She's been dry for weeks, but it's fine. It still
keeps going somehow. It's like those North Star V8s that were supposed to be able to run.
For 100,000 miles of that, you're checking or changing the oil as was. But,
yeah, I can't remember what. There's some lavish
it.
claims made for that engine, some of which I think may have been a bit exaggerated over time. But yes, well, now. On that note, I saw this week.
Don't tell me you've seen that Jag X-Type with the sticker.
No, God, I wish I'd seen that. Do you know what? That X-Type from last week, now when I see an X-Type saloon, and in fact I was following one across the countryside for quite a while yesterday, and obviously it wasn't that one because it didn't have "fuck off" written in the back window, but every time I see an X-Type saloon now, I'm desperately thinking, has it got that back window? Has it got the Pornhub third brake light? Because I desperately want to see that car. No, I saw a local Domino's delivery car. And they put the sort of that thing, that kind of, I guess it's magnetic fin on the roof.
Like a dome or something. Yeah.
No, well, the ones I've seen around here, it's always a little sort of, it's like a sign, but it sort of looks like a fin from head on. Anyway, there was one of those, but it was a Suzuki Alto.
Oh.
I wonder if they're an underrated cockroach.
Now, we're talking about sort of mid-2000s, early 2000s Alto? So the one... Yes. Now, was that a true Suzuki, or was it a rebadge something else? I think it was...
I think it was a real Suzuki, but I think it then also has another life, like in India, doesn't it get sold under a local...
It's a Maruti.
Maruti Suzuki.
Yeah. Actually, you've just reminded me, talking of Maruti, when I was off of holiday, and I told you about the golf cart collision incident, which still makes me chuckle. I forgot to say that something else I observed was over in countries like India, Indonesia, Hondas are known as heroes. The lower ranking Honda bikes are badged as heroes. And I saw this Honda Hero Wave, I think it was called, 125. And at first I thought it was an electric motorbike. It was a proper kind of like sort of bike you'd see in a street market or a souk. and it had a hilariously embroidered seat with something like a seahorse on it. But the rear brake drum, the casting, I mean, only a complete sad bastard like me would notice this, especially on a holiday, and take a photo of it. So everyone else is taking pictures of like amazing tropical plants and stuff, and I'm bending down taking a picture of a rear drum brake on a Honda 125. Like a total flute. It had V8 cast into the aluminium drum. And I was like, what? V8? Why? That's just a lie. I mean, clearly it's not a V8. It was a 125 Hero Wave 125.
You've just reminded me of something. Sorry, this is a total diversion. Well, sort of. But speaking of Indian cars, I swear years ago somebody had a Tata Nano in the UK.
Oh, gosh.
Did you ever see this?
That was the world's cheapest car, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was very narrow Easter Island head looking thing.
Incredibly narrow.
Yes.
And I think like some really clever engineering in it to make it as cheap as possible. Like, I don't think it had a boot lid. I think it was a sealed unit, like an old car from the 50s. You had to get into the boot through the back seat. And there was all sorts of like minimalist stuff in it. And then they were going to do a Euro version, which was a bit poshed up and sort of had ABS and things. And then the whole project, I think, just went to shit because they didn't sell as many as they thought. But I'd love to have a go in one. I mean, I bet it's pretty shit, but I'd love to drive one. And when I sort of got this whiff that there was one in the UK, but then it would have
cost more than the car to buy to get it here, wouldn't it?
Well, yes. On that note, and talking of Hondas, the other day I noticed there's a new Honda N wagon out in Japan. K-car.
I know this.
I went on Honda's Japanese website and was looking at the whole N family. Do you know the N1, the little hatchback with the round headlights?
I love it.
And I was looking at that and going, I wonder how much it would cost to get one to the UK. But then, I suppose once you've SVA'd it and everything, it's getting pretty costly, isn't it?
It will be, but I do know of somebody bringing the vans in.
Oh,
and
really?
I do. Yeah. More on that on the Late Break Show.
Oh.
At some point. Off of soon.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. But they are. I love those. We all love a bit of a K thing. I do think we have to divert our attention more to the K class in Japan, because it really is it is the masterclass in maximum interior space, minimum outer dimensions, and I do think that is actually the future for some of the countries like ours, where unless you're on the motorway, there are loads of parts of the UK where historic towns with parking issues and old houses with small drives or small spaces outside. Yeah, exactly. I can see you
this
in
set
a
me
K
thinking.
people carrier, Rich.
I was just thinking about the Ks, and I don't know. I just suddenly got a bit of a want on for a K car, and I don't know. They're funny, aren't they? Because they're almost like ring-tailed lemurs K cars, because they only exist. Like ring-tailed lemurs only live in Madagascar. And have sort of evolved perfectly for the local conditions because they don't need to go anywhere else. And K cars like that only for Japan, and so they're sort of perfectly evolved species for a very specific set of conditions, which is living in Japan. But I don't think that actually living in Japan, if you tried to put a ring-tailed lemur into the New Forest, it might struggle a bit. Whereas I think a K car could adapt quite nicely to life in the UK.
Oh, a K car could adapt. I mean, I've never owned a K, but I've got quite close. Or have I owned a K? Would you? I mean, you might class my old S600 coupe as a K car. It sort of predates K.
You would, surely.
It's the godfather of K, isn't it?
King K. Yeah,
it is King K. Okay. And by Jove, that was small.
Hang on a second, because I'm going to look this up. The K car regulations came in after the Second World War, so surely.
Okay, so maybe that
Honda was a K.
And it's also 600cc, so the regs are a maximum of 660, aren't they? Hence why they're all 660.
According to Wikipedia, so this might be wrong, the first set of K car regulations were laid down in 1949.
Oh.
And then they've been updated. They've only been updated a few times. The last regulation change was in 1998 when they slightly increased the maximum length and width.
Well, we all like
still 660.
We all like a Suzuki Hustler, don't we? which still looks amazing. And I think it's fair to say that my favourite is, it's like a scaled-down Nissan L Grand, but for a very small family, or for maybe two people that want to go camping in extremely cramped circumstances.
Two very thin people who know each other very well and want to go camping.
Yeah, what's it called? I'm just looking it up. It's a Daihatsu van, and I know it's got the narrowest face. It's a hilariously narrow
is it
face.
I'm just on the Daihatsu Japan website because I was wondering who makes the best Ks, and I think Daihatsu are in with a shout because they're pretty much, that's what they do.
That is what they do.
Days.
They know what
the Tanto. Now, they've really lent into the thinness of this car because the Tanto Custom and the Tanto appear on the homepage of the Daihatsu website.
Do they?
Product section. And it's two head-on shots. So it's a car that it's so narrow. It's fantastic.
Has it got a face that's as thin as, say, Rodney from Only Fools and Horses?
They are Lyndhurst-faced cars.
Honestly, I love a K.
Man, look at these. And then, what is this? The Taft.
If I had a lot of disposable income for automotive things and storage, instead of ordering new supercars with, I don't know, really dull extra stitching options and stuff, I would just buy. I just have like a zoo of K-cars. K-car zoo. It'd be so cool.
Well,
kids would
be
love
like
it.
The Shmee of K-cars. You'd have the Smithium where you just keep. It wouldn't even need to be a big barn, would it? Because they're all very small.
It'd be a small
could
barn.
Just have a tiny, like a sort of big shed from B&Q to keep your K-cars in.
K-barn.
Look at these. Oh, this is terrible audio because I'm saying look at something that the listener can't see. But Daihatsu have got some stuff going on here. The Move canvas.
That's it. It's the Move. You've got it.
But they've gone for a little bit of a VW bus vibe here because they're doing sort of contrast painted nose panels and things.
That's it. It is the Daihatsu Move. I was at the Tokyo Auto Salon on the Daihatsu stand when they did the grand unveiling of the new Move. And
you've got some new moves.
And it was amazing because they did a very truncated music. I'm going to say musical theatrical performance.
Yes, I think you've told us about this.
Yeah,
now,
it was brilliant.
Get this down your head holes. The entry price in Japan at current exchange rates for a Move is £8,000.
Oh, wow.
There is not a car on sale in Britain that you can get for that.
No, there isn't, is there?
So, do you know what? I mean, this would be a good story if you had money to piss away, because, in fact, I am absolutely certain, I'm not fully abreast of shipping rates, but they can't be that much, that you could get a Move into Britain road ready for less than the price of Britain's cheapest car, which is the Sandero, and is about 13 grand now, I think. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, I do. Shite. And I'm tempted just because to just do that right now.
Stop recording.
Do it right now.
I've got to get on the phone to Japan.
I'll tell you what I have done, though. Is I know you forwarded me that silly Daihatsu Midget 2 DX Deluxe K-van.
Yeah, I did.
Which is the narrowest van in the world.
Yes.
And it really is.
It's one seat.
You can drive it.
It's a one-seat commercial vehicle.
It's a one...
Yeah.
I've never driven one, but I feel like you could drive it flat out between the gaps in some railings outside a bank. I reckon you could just go straight through, no problem. But you've made me go online, and I quickly searched up Daihatsus in Britain, and I've immediately come across, and we've talked about them before, a Terios, little 4x4 thing, and with a spare wheel cover on the back, with a huge picture of a sun and a starfish, and it says, "Life is better at the beach," all in italics. All in italics.
So it's the courtesy car for an Airbnb on the coast.
It is, isn't it? But I guarantee They've done no chassis protection at all, and I guarantee every MOT it's an absolute clusterfuck to get the thing patched up.
There's nothing left to weld to, sir.
Yeah, just do it. We've got people coming next Wednesday.
Yeah,
We've promised.
got a booking. We're solid all summer.
Just glass fibre the hell out of it. Do something, Muttley. Do something.
Hey, I didn't tell you about the house we stayed in Mallorca, which was not far from the beach. But I guess because it's owned by British people, they had gone in a little bit on the coastal house decoration theme, and it included a sign that said, "Life is better in flip-flops."
Oh, gosh. That's what?
And I thought, that's not true. Sometimes it might be, but what if you're Usain Bolt? Life's not better in flip-flops. You're going to lose.
Well, no, your career's over in flip-flops, basically.
If you're a lorry driver, very hard to go about your business. What if you work in an environment where you're supposed to wear steel toe caps? Then your life's not better in flip-flops. You're going to get fined.
What about a paratrooper?
Oh, God.
Oh, I know. What about all of the current Formula One drivers? I mean, there you go. There's an instant chance.
Their life's not better in flip-flops. Again, not safe. What about if you're one of those people who does that really tricky underwater welding on oil rig legs? I mean, they're going to come off and float to the surface, and that's just a nuisance. You're never going to find them again.
Well, the people who are chaperoning you will presume that you're dead because they just have
ominous flip-flop floats to the surface.
Exactly.
I thought he said life was better in flip-flops. No, it's wrong. I don't know. Maybe you have little tethers. You have flip-flop tethers if you're a deep-sea welder.
I'd hate to be a deep-sea welder. Can I just say that? Oh, man. Just like a police diver in Britain.
I barely think of a job I'd less like to do.
Well, abattoir for me. But
yes.
Both of those are quite nasty jobs, and I'm afraid I couldn't.
Yeah.
That's jolly, isn't it?
Now I'm looking at the Daihatsu Move range here, and there's a couple of models have caught my eye just for the names. There's the there's the Move Canvas Stripes G Turbo.
What?
And the Move Canvas Theory G Turbo. And they're both quite jolly looking, but they are also a little bit more expensive. They come in at about £9,500 in pounds. So, but the Dacia Sandero I've just looked is closing in on £14,000.
Right. Is it really? And that's the cheapest, definitely the cheapest car in Britain right now.
I'm almost certain.
That is a reflection on how pricey things have got.
Yeah.
14k for the basest of base models. And they do sell a lot of them because I see them about in that UN white with the black bumpers, black mirrors.
I think they've stopped doing. That's part of the reason the price has gone up is because they've deleted that absolute base model.
Well, that's a pruncy move. They can't do that.
Well, I think there's probably... I mean, it's all about, the economies of scale and shizzle, isn't it? So they've probably just gone... relatively few people bought the base model. There's a listener, Smith & Sniff listener, who lives near me, who's got one. And I know this because I bumped into him outside our local Tesco Express a few weeks ago. I'm really sorry, I can't remember your name, but he caught me when I was buying some spaghetti hoops for my...
Were you really?
Well, because what happened was we needed one other thing, which I can't remember what it was. And then I said to my boy, "What do you want for dinner? I'll do you some spaghetti hoops." And he went, "Oh, yeah." And it's like just getting him to be enthusiastic about any food is a bit of a challenge. So I went, "Right, spaghetti hoops, it is coming up." And then opened the cupboard and no hoops.
Oh, that's
and
awful.
So I was like, screw it. We need something else as well. I'll pop down to the Tesco Express. And then as I was going back to the car, this chap came over and said hi. And I'd seen his black bumper bog basic Sandero parked around there quite a few times and always thought, admire someone who's gone all in on the basicness.
Completely.
And it turns out he's a listener to this podcast. So hello to the listener who has a bog basic Sandero.
I think that's exactly what I'm thinking is what really divides Range Rover people from Land Cruiser people. So I feel like Land Cruiser people will intentionally buy the base spec because they know the longevity is probably higher, and they'll celebrate the basic fabrics and the analogness. And whereas Range Rover people go the other way and go, no, I've put all the options on this, everything. and then a few more.
Yeah.
And I think that defines those two people. But I'd written down something completely different that I was meant to talk to you about weeks ago. I saw a man of a certain look driving around in a Jaguar XK convertible, XK8. And I put in brackets Timothy Dalton spec, even though I mean like him as a sort of man rather than a Bond actor.
Okay.
And then I actually thought that he looked a little bit like Nigel Havers. So foreign listeners will not have no idea, I don't think, who Nigel Havers is. But look him up. He's a sort of
it behooves you to look up Havers. He's
an actor, a British actor, very British. Did a bit of a housewife favourite from the 80s, probably.
Yes, but to this day, I'd like to argue.
Yes. So I thought I like his name, Nigel Havers, because I think if you switched the words around, he would sound like a disarming private investigator. It could be a kind of soft TV show, a BBC early evening. He's Havers Nigel.
I don't understand. But Havers Nigel sounds like someone you'd meet in the US.
Well, I was thinking,
those funny American names.
What's your disarming private investigator name if you had a BBC Two show at 6 p.m? What would it be?
Oh.
I would be Havers Nigel.
Oh, I see. Well,
and I'd be a home counties, smiling, quite jolly, but very intelligent and sharp private investigator.
Oh, I see. See, I might just go for fish out of water. If it's home counties, 6 p.m, gentle, fluffy drama on a Sunday evening, I might just go with John Shaft.
Oh, okay. And you're gonna go diarrheal jacket on that one as well?
But it's Shaft with an E.
Shaved.
Jonathan Shaft. And he's played by Peter Bowles, I think, another very suave British actor.
John Shaft.
John Shaft. I'm sorry, I'm slightly distracted by the fact that I've now moved on to the Suzuki website in Japan.
Oh gosh, you're on the Hustler.
Oh my god,
the Hustler.
There's a page that just has all of their K-cars arranged, including the Jimny, of course.
Yeah, the K Jimny is wonderful. I wish that they'd
no wheel arch extensions.
No, and the 660 turbo.
Get it narrow enough. But
yeah,
what a roster of magnificence this is. I mean, I don't know where to start. The Lapin. Oh, there's a little 5-door hatchback with big round headlights, and there's now the Lapin LC, which they seem to have sort of doubled down on. The front of it.
The Lapin, I know
extraordinary.
The Lapin. It's brilliant.
It's almost got sort of. It looks like a modern recreation of an old Fiat 600, perhaps, that's been debumpered.
Yeah,
and the bonnet. There's some interesting pressing work gone on here because the bonnet sits very inset, so the front wings sort of. Wow. I don't know how they're even building this. It looks really complicated in a sort of nerdy kind of way, but yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Can I please? I mean,
I actually want one of these. I hope it's 3-cylinder.
Of course, it's going to be 3-cylinder. I mean, seriously. But what about see that if you want narrowness and top hat-esque roofline, you've got to go for the spacier Gear My style. Please, and we will put these links up for anyone that's kind enough to patronise us.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that lets me down about these K-cars is, of course, they're all automatic.
Yeah, they've all got Cobra heads, haven't they?
They certainly have.
Yeah.
And how. But which is, I can imagine if you live in downtown Tokyo, that is what you want. But I feel like I would quite enjoy a manual one of these. 3 cylinders, zooming around.
Yeah, this has got... It's like the smaller the car, the larger the head of the shifter. What's that about? It's a small car.
Overwhelms the interior somehow.
It does.
They're very big. We'll put links up to this stuff because otherwise you're just listening to two men looking at stuff that you can't see. But anyway, yes. Sorry, I was I was going to say something else just to stitch back to something you mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
Talking about your mechanic friend using a Honda Jazz to haul his tools around in.
Yeah. Last
week, I saw a wheelchair access Fiat Scudo being used as a gardener's van. And
well,
I thought, actually quite ingenious, because the extendable ramp he was using to get his mower out.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite sensible.
That is a really good idea.
You know, because you think a wheelchair access Fiat Scudo, there's going to come a point where it's probably getting a bit dicky, maybe a bit of rot, mechanical problems. Now, if you're a wheelchair user and you're doing a lot of mileage, you're going to think, I do not want to be stranded at the side of the M5 at 10 o'clock at night in the pissing rain, because that's going to be a nuisance. Need to get a new car.
Yep.
But the Scudo's not totally dead. It's got a bit of life left in it, and it would be churlish to scrap it. So it's quite good that it's got this second life and a practical application for the extra facilities that it has on board. I was quite taken with this. I thought, this is second life. Specialised vehicles having second lives is a whole thing that I feel needs more attention.
That's got Weekend Auto Jumble written all over it. That's got a real strong whiff of Auto Jumble machine, because that lovely ramp at the back allows you to just drag old toss up and down it that you're not going to sell.
Since I got the wheelchair accessible Scudo, my world of toss horizons have expanded massively.
Honestly, I can drag another useless engine block from one showground to another. I've reduced it to £5. I still don't have anyone interested.
I've bought 6 broken rotavators since I got this car. It's brilliant. It's changed my life. Yes. I mean, obviously my wife's left me because of all the shit I keep bringing home from Auto Jumbles, but I don't need a wife now. I've got a wheelchair access Scudo for hauling cack from Auto Jumbles.
I have seen, because it's the summer holidays, I have seen a couple of ex-ambulance camper vans about.
And on the
one hand, I know that they're really expensively appointed when they were new. But on the other, I do frown and think, would I like to go on holiday in an ambulance? There's always a bit of a shall I, shan't I? What do we think?
Yeah, it depends how it's been done. See, I always associate ambulances with ex-ambulances with the ones I used to see as a kid, inevitably been done matte black, probably by some goths.
Yes.
And they were those old sort of Bedford ambulances with the bespoke body, where there's sliding front doors.
That's right.
Slightly sort of slanted sides, like the sides weren't.
They're tapered,
vertical.
Aren't they? No, they were tapered.
Tapered for reasons I don't know why, but.
And there was a wood-burning chimney, maybe at the back.
Quite possibly, yes, which was inevitably going to lead to a catastrophic fire. It would be my take on it. We should start bringing this into land, but before we do, I also wanted to read out a message from a listener, because you mentioned another element of your recent holiday and your golf club, your golf buggy crash that you were unwittingly involved in. A listener called Neil Holden wrote in and said, a long time ago, my wife and I went on a package holiday to Egypt, where we had to get a coach from Luxor to Hurghada. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. The police escort out of town didn't bother us, but as it got dark, we realised they were only driving on side lights, if at all, and as we got out into the desert, they would drive faster and then flash and hold main beam if something was coming in the other direction.
Oh gosh, I know where this is going.
As it was over a 5-hour journey, it was truly terrifying, and we would drift off the tarmac as the driver was blinded. I was in the Merchant Navy as an engineer and have seen a few things, and this was one of the few times I was not a happy bunny, Neil says. That's like, there's no, he doesn't record any actual accident, but this is like your golf cart game taken to the max.
It is.
And Neil says, I could only assume, like you, that I thought they were trying to save electricity.
Well, because there's no other, there isn't any other rationale, is there?
No, not that I can think of.
Just like, if it's dark, simply leave the headlights on. You don't need to turn them off and then flash them.
They're
I don't get it. Gosh, if anyone can explain this, I would love to know.
We welcome your theories on this, or indeed anything else. hello@smithandsniff.com is our email address. We do read all your emails. We just don't necessarily reply to them because we are busy
Idiots.
and we get a lot of message, and we are idiots, and we're...
I will just quickly finish by saying there's a chap called David Hemming who is a listener and also a patron. He said, "Hi guys, I work in the same building as a large manufacturer of cosmetics and consumer goods. There is a staff shop containing many different varieties of their products. You can get every type of Hellmann's mayonnaise, for example." I don't even know what types they do.
How many types are there?
I don't know.
There's two. There's one, and then there's the lighter one, surely.
It says you can get industrial portions of Coleman's mustard and a range.
Who needs that?
I don't know. And a range of flavours of pot noodles, including the really rare varieties in brackets. These are all available to building pass holders at trade prices. Yeah, it says this. These are all available to building pass holders at trade prices. I was in there today buying some heavily discounted toiletries, and I couldn't help but notice the extensive range of Brute. I assume that what I'm showing you in this photo is the entire range. Let me know if you fancy anything and I'll post it to you. So I'm scrolling down, and I've got this picture. We'll put it on the Patreons. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, oh wow, 5, 6 different types of product. Well, David, your staff shop sounds amazingly strange.
It does.
And thank you for being a patron, and thank you for the offer. I might, just for sort of a weird Christmas present this year, I might see if I can get an industrial portion of Coleman's mustard.
Yeah. As many different variants of Hellmann's mayonnaise as you possibly can. I'm just looking this up. How many different...
I mean, this is not.
God,
I still maintain that if I was the private detective, disarming private investigator guy called Havers Nigel with my XK8 convertible and flowing hairline, I would definitely have some Brute deodorant stick on the go under my linen shirt.
Stick?
I love a stick.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm a stick deodorant guy. Yeah, I've had roll on for many years, but I think when the going gets tough, it just doesn't quite do it. Whereas stick is great.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But then I always find the stick off-putting because in the morning you take the cap off and there's always a single hair stuck to it.
I think as long as it's my hair, I'm all right with that.
Oh, right, okay.
I think when it's other hairs...
Of course, the stick and the ball both do rather erode the... I suppose as you get older, this is less of a situation where you're sort of in a room with a mate, we've stayed over somewhere, and someone goes, "Oh, give us a squizzy of deodorant." And you have to go, "No, it's stick."
Well, do you know what? Maybe I'm just, as I'm getting older, I'm just getting a bit more cool about this sort of thing. But I would lend my stick out.
Would you?
If you and I were staying in another like really slightly creepy sort of hostel room like we have done, and you said, "Oh shit, I've got no deodorant," I would say, "Yeah, you can have a go on that if you want." I'll even wipe the stick with my elbow first if you want me to.
I mean, that's very kind.
I'll just wipe up.
Want to borrow your stick?
I'll wipe it up and down a wall first.
Just rub it on the carpet. It'll be fine. Oh shit! No, those bits stuck to it. They're not pubes. That's actually just carpet stuff.
It's just a perfumed slug trail that you've left in your Airbnb.
This seems like a great way to end the podcast. So let's do that. But before we go, 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called the Urinating Mace Show, in which he tours the country looking for branches of an obscure convenience store chain that have lavatories for public use.
Oh, gosh.
This week, he's in Wolverhampton, where he's downed a 2-litre bottle of orange juice and then discovered the bogs are for staff only. If that's not to your taste, then there is always the Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos about cars, people who love them on there. What have we got this week?
We've got, in the next 7 days, we've got 2 lovely things. We've got a delivery mileage Escort Cosworth Group N rally car that was ordered and never used, and I've pretty much do an unboxing video. Yeah, it was found sort of squirreled away in Jakarta, right-hand drive car. Really cool thing. And the other is an RWB 964 911 Porsche Turbo, which is probably one of the most turbo-y cars I've ever driven. It pretty much tears me a new one. So have a look at that.
It overwhelmed the power of your stick deodorant.
It was, and I had to insure that correctly because it's actually a really rare, valuable car now. So So have a look at those two and all that, and see what tickles your fancy. Couple more bar fines if you like all that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you like it when people say? When people say, "Does that make sense?" After something that just most definitely does.
Yeah.
Like I'll see you at 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's in the cupboard just there on the left. Does that make sense? Yeah. Absolutely makes sense. There's no ambiguity in that sentence whatsoever. The second thing I've got to tell you is I've got various books out. One of them is called Steel Flies. It's a spoof Cold War thriller, supposedly written by the stupid car journalist Roy Lanchester. And if you're going on holiday, I know probably it's a bit late to say this, but if you go on holiday, want something to read by the pool, recommend this. It has got a proper plot and everything. It's just sort of stupid. But anyway, that's that. You can buy it on Amazon as an ebook or an paperback. And the third thing I've got to tell you is that in 1976, Chairman Mao died, and China spent so long commemorating his death that in Shanghai, many elementary students had to repeat a year because they'd got so behind from all the death celebrations or commemorations, whatever they are.
Death celebrations. Oh, my gosh.
It's the opposite.
Wow.
Yeah, they got so distracted. Everyone was required to spend so long being somber that school kids got behind and had to do it all again.
Well, wow. I vowed to the next cat that I own, I'm going to call it Chairman Mao. I've decided. Yeah, that is the truth. I'm not just saying that. That is the decided name, Chairman Meow.
For reals. I was hoping you might call it John Shaft, but...
Jonathan Wick. Yes, I'm going to call it Wick and Shaft, my pair of blue cats.
It's better than the crime-fighting deodorant enthusiast Stick and Ball.
No, they're sweaty helmsmen. Yeah, who live their life.
Their very old-school boss is called Spray.
But yeah.
Anyway,
right, we are talking. And we've got merchandise. We always keep thinking
we have merchandise, and we'd like you to like and subscribe. The following song will remind you to do that. But for now, thank you ever so much for listening. We'll do this all again next week. Until then, goodbye.
Thanks, bye, love you, bye.
You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and review. You know just what to do. Like and subscribe and
With Rich, I think we've reached peak twat, peak twattery.